Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining. I'm Lorenz Verstraeten. I'm the co-founder of Cloud Ninjas. Today's session is about how to increase Google Apps return on investment, how gamified learning gets the job done. First and foremost, questions. Please do ask. Here you can see that there's a link on your YouTube video. Please click it. You go straight to your Google Plus environment where you can click the Q&A button on the top right corner of your screen. Ask questions, we'll pick them up at the end of the session. Cloud Ninjas, it's a gamified learning platform for boosting cloud adoption. We use the gamification to set clear objectives for users, so they are a part of the training campaign, and it stimulates the training efforts. Cloud Ninjas is a training platform, of course. It's all about learn by doing. We offer specific recommendations to users based on how they use Google Apps and to which campaign they belong. And in the end, we try to boost cloud adoption. We have content for Google Apps out of the box. And it's also possible to create content for any web application. So to start, let's focus on the challenges we address. First of all, Cloud Ninjas, it's a scalable solution. Rather than investing in traditional training efforts, you can use Cloud Ninjas and deploy it to every user in your organization, at your headquarters, at your local offices. So it's an excellent solution to reach all those distributed teams. We focus on onboarding users, not only for Google Apps and not only in the beginning after you deployed Google Apps, but also afterwards, the next stage in your Google Apps journey. For example, you want to deploy Google Drive and boost adoption for Drive, Docs, and Sheets. You can use Cloud Ninjas to set up a dedicated training campaign for that purpose. You can also use it to train new hires in your organization. You can offer content for Google Apps, but also for any other training purpose about security and privacy. Perhaps you want to educate them how to book a meeting room with another web application you have, so you can centralize all of this content at one single place. We've got many customers asking to modify the existing Google Apps content because they have their, let's say, best practices. Perhaps they have some restrictions on their Google Apps domain. That's possible with Cloud Ninjas. It's even possible to add your own content. It could be interactive tutorials, such as we have for Google Apps, but also video content, text, images, where it's perhaps a little bit difficult to validate whether the user well understood what you wanted to achieve. Therefore, you can set up surveys, multiple choice questions to validate whether the user understood what you wanted to explain. Cloud Ninjas is all about learning engagement, stimulate users so they can actually follow their trainings. We use smart gamification elements such as belts for every application. We have leaderboards, people can earn points. And we also use communication, for example, Google Plus and email to inform people about the progress. I'll explain this a little bit later on. Some key facts. We're a team of 5. We're founded in 2014. Currently, we have 25,000 users that have completed successfully 150,000 tracks, which results in 20,000 belts. The content today is in 4 languages. We have Dutch, French, English, and Portuguese. We'll add extra languages this year, including German, Italian, Spanish, and Russian. Should you have any requirements for any other languages, feel free to ask. It's based on the requirements of our partners and customers that will adding extra languages. And the content, it has a very good score. People give it 85%, which helps us to, let's say, keep it top-notch. Cloud Ninjas isn't just a box of content with Google Apps tutorials. We have a learning methodology behind, which is supported by Google. First of all, we try to understand your adoption. So we visualize how Google Apps is used in your organization. You can add specific content based on your requirements. Perhaps you want to add content for other web applications to the platform, which makes it much more relevant for a user. You can set up training campaigns to address these specific needs. You can set a duration, you can set targets, select an audience, and then you can follow up on the progress of these campaigns straight from Cloud Ninjas. And of course, it's all about learn by doing, so people can follow instructions, tutorials in their own Google Apps environment or their own web environment, should it be another web application. And in the end, you get relevant insights about your trainings. So what is the reach of my training? How did my people perform comparing to the objectives, the belts earned, time spent on the platform, etc. So before jumping to the demo and the application itself, let's have a look at the project communication, because it's really important. Cloud Ninjas isn't about just activating the application and directing people to the environment. It's also communicating about the progress of the training campaign. You can do this by email, informing them about the belts earned, tracks completed, but you can also use communities. It could be your intranet or a Google Plus community, where you can inform people about launches of new content. You can have presentations of all the teams, the achievements by week. Quite a lot of customers use team competition to inform their people about the progress. They have little incentives, could be a Chromecast or something else, which is very googly. And all of this information is also shared with those participants. And there's a very good interaction among those people. That's what we've seen from the project we already completed. So let's have a look at Cloud Ninjas. First of all, you have three roles. First of all, you have the user, the regular user. They have access to the training content and a profile, but you also have team managers and change managers. So the roles are managed in your Google Apps admin console by using groups. The team managers, they have access to the data and the results of the people that belong to their team. And then you have change managers. You can call them the super administrators. They can see everyone in the organization. They can also manage the catalog. And yeah, that's they also have access, of course, to the training content as well. So let's have a look at Cloud Ninjas. When you click Cloud Ninjas in your Google Apps environment, you have a direct link in your Gmail, Drive, calendar. You can also access it by clicking the app launcher. You enter Cloud Ninjas and you see all the modules that are available for you as a user. So before I show you the trainings, let's have a look at the profiler, because most of the time that's the place where the project starts. Here you can see the adoption of your Google Apps domain. We have some principal adoption parameters, like do my people have a profile picture? Do they use labels? Do they use chat? You can also check the adoption of Google Drive. So in this case, let's have a look at my team Hollywood. I can see that I have a very well adoption of approximately 80%, but perhaps it could be useful, as I see that the recent use of doc sheets and slides isn't that high. I could, let's say, conclude that a campaign in Cloud Ninjas for addressing this specific need could be useful. So you can drill down by team. You can see the results per user. For example, let's check how is the usage of Google Drive for my team Hollywood. I've seen this here on top, but let's see how it looks per user. Here you can see all the results. So here you can see, do my people actively use Google Drive? You can instantly promote a track that learns that person how to, in this case, it could be useful to learn him how to create and share a folder. I see that Stephen Willis hasn't created any file or folder in Google Drive, and you can promote the track straight from Cloud Ninjas. So that that person receives an email inviting him to follow a track with a little bit of information. Because each track has its own unique URL, you can also send this by email yourself, publishing it on an intranet, etc. Or perhaps you could use it for support purposes. When you have a support request, perhaps how to use labels rather than explaining over the phone how this functionality works, you can send a direct link to that tutorial, to that exercise, to that specific user. Okay, so let's set up a training campaign specifically for Google Drive. You can use this by selecting campaigns in the admin tools. So you create a new campaign. Let's call it Getting Started with Drive. Let's set a start and an end date. Let's do a project for about 6 weeks where we will focus on the basics of Drive. The basics are part of the yellow belt tracks. So we have 3 belts. We have the yellow belt, the red belt, and the black belt, and it depends on the difficulty of the tracks. So the yellow belt is about the basics. The red belt is more about advanced features, and the black belt is about specific training content. So let's select the yellow belt for Drive, Docs, and Sheets. Here you have an indication how much time is required to complete the scope. So it doesn't make sense to set up a training campaign for 1 week or 2 weeks with a scope of, let's say, more than 2-3 hours. Or you should have enough time reserved for training, of course. So here you can select an audience. It could be an individual user, or it could be a team as well. So now we created the campaign. You can check on specific details of that campaign by clicking it. So here you can see I have 2 campaigns running. These are mini projects in my organization. You can see how much time left, belts earned, tracks completed. I can check on the metrics. So the overall completion takes into account the time left and the tracks completed. I can see how many tracks are completed and belts earned. And I can check per user when they were active for the last time on the platform, how many sessions, time completed, time spent, and an overall percentage of completion. You can also sort by any of these parameters. It's also possible to see the progress per track. So this campaign just got started. Some of my participants already completed some tracks before. Should you notice that specific tracks aren't that popular, but they are important to you and for your organization, you can promote these tracks in the Plus community, for example, or by email. You can also check the progress on the belt level. So for the belts I've selected, the 3 yellow belts for Drive, Docs, and Sheets. And here I can see what is the percentage of completion so far. As a change manager, you can manage the catalog. So this means it could make sense to just disable the applications that are not part of the scope. So you can focus on only Drive, Docs, and Sheets. So I enabled Mail and Calendar. You could also enable or disable specific tracks by clicking it. Okay, so now let's return to my dojo and let's have a look how this looks for a user. As you can see, the modules that are available for me are updated. In my dojo, I can see the relevant recommendations for me. So currently these are sequential. Later on, I will explain how this will look like in the near future. This also takes into account the campaign to which you belong. So in this case, we selected Drive, Docs, and Sheets. These tracks will be visualized on top of my screen because I'm part of this training campaign. I can see how much time it requires to complete a track. I can see that I already earned some belts for Hangouts, a yellow belt, Docs, a red belt. And I can also see this in my profile. So each user has a profile where he or she can follow up on the progress of their training campaigns. You can see the belts I already earned. I can see the points I've earned. We call them shuriken. These are throwing stars that ninjas use. And for every activity on the platform, it could be completing a track, redoing a track. We also have the possibility to provide a survey at the beginning of the training campaign and at the end to benchmark the results of this survey. For completing a survey, you can earn 50 shuriken, for example, and it's based on these shuriken that we visualize the leaderboard. So we have 3 views of the leaderboard. First of all, the team leaderboard. It also only shows you the people that are part of my team. So I can see the 2 people above me and below me. I can also access the full leaderboard, where I can find everyone in my organization that has access to Cloud Ninjas. I can search for people, because if you have a big organization, it doesn't make sense to scroll down and search for a user. To the team leaderboard. This is well used by our customers because team competition is something that has a high impact on the success of a training campaign. So here a user can follow up on the progress of the campaign. You can sort by belt, yellow, red, black, total number of belts, and shuriken. And this information can also be shared with your population on the Plus community, something that most of the time is done by the change manager. So how does a training looks like? For example, let's select Drive. So for every application, every module, you can see the recommendations specifically for that module. If you have completed a track, you can see when that was for the last time. And you simply click a track to start. So you go to your own Google Apps environment where instructions are shown. So in this case, I will create a folder and share this folder. It's with instant validation. So if I spell the name incorrectly, so it's not possible to proceed to the next step. This way of training, as you can see, for selecting elements on the screen, giving extra information, etc. This is also possible for every web application that you're using in your organization. So this could be Google Apps. This could be an own developed web application. This could also be your website, or if you have a portal for customers or partners where you see that there's some adoption challenges, or if you want your users and employees to have your organization set as their company name on LinkedIn, that's possible as well. So it doesn't have any restrictions. And you can include all this training content in Cloud Ninjas and attach belts to it and have the same reporting. So now I completed the track. I have a reward screen at the end congratulating me on finishing the track. I can share my achievement on Google+. I can give a score. Should the score be lower than 3, select 2. We'll ask what can be improved. Perhaps it could be that your settings on your Google+ domain aren't aligned with our content. This is something that we'll share with you. So the scores, the feedback, etc. This is something that we share with you. Even if it isn't visualized in Cloud Ninjas, we can share it with you by export. At the end, I can continue to the next track, taking into account the scope I selected in the training campaign, or I dismiss and I return to my dojo. So let's have a look at the reporting. This is accessible for the change manager or for the team lead for his or her team. You can check the progress over time, number of tracks completed, the ninjas that were active over time. You can check on the details per user. You can sort on time spent, tracks completed, belts earned. This means if you've set up a training campaign where you want that every user in your organization of your team earns all the yellow belts, here you can follow up on the progress by sorting, for example. The last screen is the belt screen. Here you can see all the results of all the applications that I've selected. So the progress for the yellow, the red, and the black belt tracks. You can also detect some tracks that aren't really popular and perhaps should be communicated and promoted to your users. So this is the same kind of information you can find in the belt view. So this is Cloud Ninjas today. Let's return to the presentation and let's have a look what's coming. First of all, we're convinced that people need to be stimulated in their own environment. So therefore, we not only launched the recommendations in Cloud Ninjas, but we're about to launch a notification center in Google Apps as well, where people will be informed about new campaigns created, their progress, other messages that are promoted by the change manager in their own Google Apps environment by adding badges, for example. This works. We believe this will work to activate and stimulate people to go to their Cloud Ninjas environment, because of course that's the first step. Another project that we're about to finish is the launch of a recommendation algorithm. I've explained to you how the recommendations work today. What we'll add is extra functionality that, based on your personal level of experience, so how do you use as a user Google Apps, based on that kind of information, we will visualize a top 3 of relevant recommendations for you. So if you don't have a lot of time to train, you can instantly click a training that is relevant for you. You can compare it to ordering a book on Amazon. For example, you already ordered 3 books. Perhaps the 4th book could be relevant for you. This is a project, by the way, that we're doing with a Belgian university that is specialized in e-learning. And we also got funded for this part by our government because it's about innovation, and that's really important. Coming soon as well, the Cloud Ninja Studio. So currently you can already create content for any web application, but it's done by us. But we believe it makes a lot of sense that you as a customer or a partner can create content for your users. So imagine extra content for Google Apps, could be for your intranet, CRM, or other external websites. You can easily create content. You can even add videos and tutorials and extra quizzes to have extra validation. And all of this will be fully integrated and managed in Cloud Ninjas. You have unlimited usage of using the Cloud Ninja Studio, and it's also included in your yearly license fee. So this is Cloud Ninjas. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Lawrence, maybe before answering the first question, could you show the audience how they can ask questions again?
Sure. Let's return to this slide. So if you're watching on YouTube, you have a link. You can find it here where the arrow is shown. You click it, you go to your Google Plus environment. Then on the top right corner of your screen, you have an app launcher. And there you can click Q&A. At the right side, you'll find a space where you can ask your questions.
Okay, there's one question for the moment. Let's get into answering this one first. So how are teams composed? Is it tailor-made, automatic, and it is easy to set up for diverse groups of 2,000 collaborators?
So teams are composed as you want. It could be that you want to set up teams for countries, for departments, for offices, or it could be the teams that belong to a Google Ambassador or a Google Guide. So you set up these teams in your Google Apps admin console. So creating a Google group with a specific naming convention, and you add people to that group. And then that group as a team will be visualized in Cloud Ninjas. So of course, for more than 2,000 users, it definitely makes sense to split up your population, not only for, let's say, the team competition, but also to have specific information for teams in the profiler and their reporting.
So we have a new question. Any experience with Cloud Ninjas in using Citrix?
No, not at the moment. So you have to install the Chrome extension. So if you can do this in your environment, we've got everything to set up Cloud Ninjas for you. But happy to, let's have a look more in detail. What are the specific technical requirements? So feel free to reach out directly.
Okay, we currently have no questions. Let's stay on air for 5 minutes and let the audience ask escort questions if there's still questions open.
Should you have any questions later on, feel free to get in touch directly or to set up a hangout with your team. I'm happy to explain how this could work for you based on your specific requirements.
Okay, we have a new question. So what is the pricing model behind Cloud Ninjas?
Good question. So we charge per user per year. It depends on the volume. It starts at 15 euro per user per year. It includes the usage of the platform, of course, also the usage of the studio in about 2 weeks. But if you have a large organization, prices will decrease significantly. So happy to give you a quote based on your organization.
Okay, no more questions left. We'll stay on the air for 3 more minutes and are open for questions. So we have a new question. If we put content on YouTube for our audience, is it within a protected area of Cloud Ninjas or our protected area?
So if you have, I don't know if I understand the question very well, but if you have content on YouTube, this is something that you can display in tutorials. That's possible. But yeah, sorry, I don't fully understand the question, but happy to answer that afterwards.
Are there any customers in Belgium who the audience could contact for reference cases?
Sure. Happy to send you some references by mail. For example, we have Vlaams Agentschap voor Personen met een Handicap. We have Tree Finance, for example, Aptco Invest, Inbo, and others. And of course, we can share contact details so you can reach out to them directly.
Okay, I suggest we go offline. You could contact Lawrence for any other questions offline via the contact details which are on the slides. And thank you very much for watching our webinar.
Thank you very much and hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.